House Republicans are committed to immediate oversight, accountability, and a fulsome investigation to provide needed transparency and answers to the American people regarding Joe Biden and his administration's weaponization of the Department of Justice and FBI against Joe Biden's political opponent.
Now, that's House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik not only condemning the search that turned up top secret documents at Donald Trump's private club, but also blaming President Joe Biden. Now, before you roll your eyes, I want you to remember January 6th and listen to what House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer says about statements like that.
I do want to say that the reaction of some Republicans, particularly in the Congress of the United States, are extraordinarily dangerous and insightful of violence.
Let's chew on this with my awesome political panel. Grace Panetta is a senior politics reporter from Insider. Jessica Post is the president of the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee. And Reed Galen is the host of the Lincoln Project podcast and an independent political strategist. All right, folks. You can sum up the right-wing chatter about the Mar-a-Lago search by listening to the first few seconds of a Fox News show from last night. Let me play for y'all how they described what was taken from Trump's home.
Here's what could have been a threat to our national security. The grant of clemency for Roger Stone, a leather-bound box of documents, and 2 binders of photos. There were boxes the agents designated as top secret documents that Trump has since said were declassified.
Now, Reed, people might want to laugh this off, but explain why this is not funny.
Well, a couple of things I think you first need to understand that these lies are not for us. They're for the people watching Fox News. They are for the people that are deeply embedded in the Trumpist authoritarian movement and believe in him. That's what these are for, right? Not for the truth. That's not part of the deal anymore. And the more outrageous the lie, the more these folks unfortunately believe it. So what I think you're seeing is that the right wing will move to find any defensible space they can for Donald Trump. And remember, the truth has nothing to do with it. It just doesn't exist in their world. So, and then when you see the declassification thing, again, once you heard Donald Trump say, I declassified them, you know that means he didn't, right? So whatever it is he says out loud, you can take the opposite as what the truth is in the real world, which is, again, I think is very important for everybody watching to understand. None of this is for you and me. This is for a very specific and large audience.
Which is why it is so dangerous, because his words are being believed. You know, I don't know if y'all remember, but my mother used to say, your words have consequences. And I think that we have already seen consequences. This is Ricky Schleifer at the January 6th riot. And earlier this week, he tried to break into the FBI office in Columbus, Ohio with a nail gun and was killed by police after an armed standoff with officers. Now, that led to FBI Director Christopher Wray to issue a statement assuring his agents that their, quote, safety and security are my primary concern. Grace, some people had you believe that it's not elected officials, okay? It's social media that's causing this. I think that that is incorrect. I think the reality is everyone has a responsibility here. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Politicians' words do matter, especially when it comes to people with huge platforms, you know, whether it's Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene referring to the FBI agents as brown shirts, normalizing this kind of violence and these kinds of threats. I think, you know, it's coming downstream. This is all sort of connected to all the attacks on institutions we've seen normalized, starting with the January 6th riots.
Yeah, this is, I mean, and if you even talk about before January 6th, I'm thinking back to Michigan when armed individuals were occupying the state capitol because of Governor Whitmer's COVID rules. You know, Jessica, let's talk locals, okay? Because you're in touch with campaigns, legislative campaigns, talking about state houses. Have you heard anything about Republicans' response to the search impacting these local elections?
Look, like, what we know for sure is that the Republicans at the state legislative level are Trump's party. Despite what you may have seen during the 1-6 hearings, a number of Republicans, including Mike Shirkey, who is featured in those hearings, have run around with militias, which, again, we thought, as you mentioned, was a dress rehearsal for January 6th. They've engaged in radical rhetoric about the election being stolen. In fact, Mike Shirkey even at one point said that he thought Antifa was the responsible for January 6th. So this type of rhetoric is happening at the state legislative level. There are certainly people at the federal level that are saying the same things that we're seeing. And really, it's Trump's party. That's really what we're seeing at the legislative level. And it could be very dangerous in terms of the decertification of the American election in 2024.
I think it's something everyone has to be vigilant on. We've been saying on the show that the threat did not end. It wasn't the end on January 6th. It was actually just the beginning when it comes to the threat to our democracy. Everyone is shaking our head. This is right. Okay, before we leave this topic, I want to talk about the irony here that it is Donald Trump throwing a fit about the search. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer had something to say about that, too. Take a listen to this.
It is interesting the hypocrisy that exists with respect to the overwhelming support of the FBI investigating Clinton when she was running for president of the United States and subpoenaing a computer, things of that nature. Overwhelming support by Republicans of that. And now, with a former president who, like Clinton, is not president of the United States, and she was not at that time, the reaction is this is weaponization.
Not only that, okay, but does Trump also forget that he was the one who signed the law making it a felony to have classified documents in his personal possession? Grace, do you think the former president remembers? I don't know.
Yeah, and either way, would be the most immense irony for Trump to get tripped up on something involving national security, classified information. And he's been known to tell associates for decades, it's the little things that get you. And that very may well end up being the case here. We don't know yet, but it would certainly be quite a bookend to how he began his campaign.
That is for sure. Grace, Jessica, and Reed, stick around. Y'all aren't going anywhere because when we come back...